Okay, so how I found out my connection to Barney Campbell was I joined the family reunion committee for the Campbell family reunion. And I was looking back at our relatives and who was who and who was related to who. And at some point, I got in touch with Lundra Newton Campbell, and we started putting pieces together one Saturday afternoon. And that's how I found out that we were connected through my great grandfather, which is no, my grandfather, which is Francis. His name is Francis. And I just went from there. We're connected. We're so close, and they grew up as brothers and sisters when they were actually first and second cousins. So the family stayed real tight. We know a few, but the younger generation, my age, I don't know most of them. So that's why I had gotten into trying to find and backtrack our family. Wiregrass Road runs from runs from the Lumberton Inn, which is Highway 41, all the way to 130 on the Fairmont Inn, and in Wiregrass Road runs through Orem, North Carolina.
Okay, I know where that is.
So the Campbell family, extended family, we all grew up here on the Wiregrass Road, and some of us have come back home, like myself. Starts with Andrew and Margaret, and then their children, which were Molly Matilda Campbell, and then there was Lula Mae Campbell. There was their third daughter, Sally Campbell. Nettie Campbell was another daughter that came after Sally. And then there's Maggie Campbell. And the next one was Roscoe Campbell, which is my grandfather. There was Frank Russell Campbell, which is the last child in my.
The Robeson County line of the Campbells is dated back to the early 1800s with Beattie Campbell, who was born around 1834. She birthed 3 children, Dennis Campbell, Laura Campbell, and Eliza Campbell. Dennis Campbell married Mandy McQueen. From this union, 13 children were born. Sally Campbell, Laura Campbell, Lawrence Campbell, Leela Campbell, Ernest Campbell, Ada Campbell, Eliza Jane Campbell, Willie Mae Campbell, Jasper Campbell, Ralph Campbell, Fody Campbell, James Campbell, and Mamie Campbell, all born in Robeson County, North Carolina.
My name is Gail Mitchell Henson, and I am the daughter of Albert Lee Mitchell and Doris Carmela Mitchell. My great-great-grandmother, Leela Campbell and Lee Black, originated in Red Springs, Robeson County, North Carolina. Leela Campbell Black was born around 1885 in Robeson County, Red Springs, North Carolina. Lee and Leela Black moved to Durham, North Carolina in the 40s. To that union, 6 children were born.
The Harnett County line of the Campbell family is dated back to the late 1700s with George and Jane McLean Campbell. From this union, 9 children were found: Turner Campbell, Warwick Campbell, William Campbell, Betsy Campbell, David Campbell, Toby Campbell, Sampson or Sim or Simeon or Samp Campbell, Henry Campbell, and Arthur Campbell. In the 1853 will of Archibald Campbell, he listed the following slaves in his will: Old George, Young George, Nelson, Arthur, Sim, Billy, Fanny, Toby, Dilsey, Betsy, David, Wilrick, Sandy, Nancy, Abby, Turner, Young Nancy, Bartley, Daniel, and Fanny. George and most of his children were passed down through other family members of Archibald Campbell. What I find interesting about George and Jane's family is the names Turner, Bartley, Worth or Worthington, Warwick or Warren, Sandy or Alexander, Toby, Dilsey, Sim or Simeon, George, and Jane. These names were passed down through each generation of all of their children. David and Mary Campbell had 12 children. David and Mary Campbell had 12 children. They named their children the exact names of some of the slaves listed in this will, which leads me to believe that those slaves may have been David's siblings.
Okay, I'm Patrick Bowens. I am the youngest son of Benjamin and Nellie Bowens, and we're related to the Campbells. I have a sister, Jackie, who's the oldest, brother Andre, brother Mike, who is deceased, and then there's myself. We come through the Campbells by way of Mary Campbell Gilmore, who was my mother's mother. There were 9 other siblings with my mother, and they were the oldest, Ethel. There was Ezra, who was also known as Hoover, Nehemiah, Melchor, which we always call him Malcolm, but it's Melchor. And we have our Aunt Isla, her name is actually, we called her Aunt T. And there was Retha, Ruth, my mother Nellie, Daniel Jr., and then Lawrence. That was all the siblings, 10 in total on that side. From there, my grandmother had 8 other siblings that came from Emery Campbell and Mary Catherine Campbell. And so I can give you those. Where did I put those? So they were Margaret Campbell, Bertha Campbell, Clarence Campbell, Josephus Bonaparte, Lorenzo, Mary, Enoch, John, and Daniel.
And that's how we became related through.
Yes. Yeah, my grandmother and your grandfather were brothers and sisters.
Yes.
And their parents.
Oh, you going
Emery's
on us.
Well, Emery's the only one I know from there. Emery's parents were David Campbell and Mary. So you see all these Marys, which confuses people. That's 3 generations of Mary. My great-great-grandmother was Mary. And I think it was Mary Catherine. Is that correct?
Yes.
She was Mary Catherine. And my
Right.
great-great-grandmother was Mary Catherine. And my grandmother was Mary Lily. So there you have it.
Good day. My name is Denise Phillip. I am the daughter of Clement Rudolph Phillip and Thelma Mae Campbell. I was born in Washington, D.C., and I worked for the Internal Revenue Service for 11 years as a programmer analyst. I reside in Boca Raton, Florida, which is not far from Miami. I'm an artist. I'm a professional photographer. I'm an author, and I'm an actress. I have one son, Clemente, who's married to Jocelyn. They live in Tampa, Florida. And I have 2 grandchildren, Clemson and Kinley. Thelma Campbell was born to Clarence W. Campbell and Susanna McLean. Thelma was the 3rd oldest out of 6 children. There was Harvey, Laura, Thelma, the twins, Chester, Berlina, and Alvis. Harvey was in the military. He was in the Air Force. He was in the Army. He was the chief chef for General Patterson, and he was in the platoon with Elvis Presley. He was married to Sarah, which they had no children. But when she passed away, he remarried and had a daughter named Harvita. I think he had another daughter, but I'm not sure of her name. Laura was a teacher. Her husband's name was Albert Pettiford. She died in around 1972, and she had a son, Albert Pettiford Jr., affectionately known as Petty. Petty passed away in 1990s, and he had no children. Thelma May. It was so funny. My mother used to tell me the story. They named her Thelma May, and she was born on May the 5th. And they were thinking about naming her Thelma May the 5th. She had 4 children. I'm the oldest, Denise. My sister Carol. My brother Ronald Anthony. We call him Anthony by his middle name. And there was Beryl, we affectionately known as Wookie. Then there were the twins, Chester and Berlina. Chester had 1 daughter. I don't know her name. Berlina has 1 daughter, Cheryl. She's married to retired major in the Air Force, Eugene Henry. They reside now in Decatur, Georgia. And then there was the baby, Alvis. Alvis was married to Reverend Braxton Cameron, and they had 1 son, Tony Cameron. Tony is the only child, but Tony's quiver is full. He has 11 children and 15 grandchildren. My mother, Thelma Phillip, worked for the Marine Corps for over 30-some years in Washington, D.C. She went to A&T University. She was a home ec major. She used to design my father's suits and also taught home economics for a period of time. I noticed all the young ladies in the household took after my grandmother. My grandmother was also a seamstress. She used to make quilts. As a matter of fact, I still have one of her quilts that she made. And Aunt Berlina took everything to the next level. She was a designer. She is a designer. She's, like I said, she still resides in Decatur, Georgia. But she's a designer. She used to make her garments and hats. And she studied in Japan, and so she learned how to, she's very artistic in that area of textile and textures in the clothing fashion arena. She's an entrepreneur, had her own company, and the name of it, I think it was called Queen Bee, out of Decatur, Georgia. Thelma Phillip, born May 5th, 1927, transitioned October 24th, 2017, was a sagacious, wise entrepreneur who managed her family even after the death of her husband, 4 children that she made sure had a well-rounded education.
a provider, protector, even when others thought that it was too much for her to handle. She gave us all the opportunity to attend college. She even assisted us financially when needed. She was a pillar of our family. Her legacy will continue on in her 4 children that she raised, 8 grandchildren, and 4 great-grandchildren.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for today's show. Join us each and every Thursday at 6 p.m. as we explore various topics in genealogy. Next week, our guest will be Cindy Atkins from the Dunn Area Cemetery Preservation and Genealogy Group.